Another season is upon us. Freshmen arrive wide-eyed with dreams of future glory, while seniors prepare for their last chance at immortality. There are only a handful of these opportunities in a man's life, a handful of chances to distinguish yourself from the rest. It's on these fields where history is made, where legends begin and heroes triumph. Traditions tell the story of what you represent, of those that forge the legacy you uphold. When you come charging out of the tunnel, 100,000 people will be watching your every move. How you respond to that pressure is what defines you. These are the moments that reveal your toughness, your determination, and your pride. The Roughnecks on the Sooner Schooner. Ralphie charging out of the gate. And Chief Osceola planting his spear. The time has come. Your time is now.
Basketball may dominate the spring, baseball may dominate the summertime, but college football, it's a completely different animal. It dominates the entire calendar, which is why we're here covering college football all year round. Welcome, everybody, to your exclusive home for 7+ hours of commercial-free college football. We continue our pre-spring previews here tonight, but I'm not going to be alone. I found some friends on the way back from the mountaintops of the Mountain West Conference. I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Reed Napper, as well as AT of Tampa 2 College Football. Boys, how are we doing tonight, man?
Man, couldn't be better. I love that intro. I was like, man, basketball doesn't dominate anything when we have college football. So I love it, Jake. Probably your best intro yet. I'm gonna listen to that, on repeat during the whole year. So
it's the sport that never sleeps. There's always something to talk about, and what better way to do it than another power ranking? So can't wait to get into it with the Conference USA.
Yeah, the Conference USA, which has had some very intriguing things happen over the course of the last week. So you already know we had to dive into this conference because you guys had some burning questions that we're going to try to give our opinions on. Is it going to be a good opinion? I don't know. Can we promise you that it's not going to be Bruce Pearl bad?
Yes.
I think promise that 100%. So listen, man, I hope y'all dial in, get your favorite drink, get your favorite snack, do what you got to do. We are in for a really good time tonight. Power rank the Conference USA as we get to go into spring football. But before we do that, make sure you go ahead, do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button as well as hit that subscribe button down below if you do have to be brand new. Shoot, if you're watching on the other platforms, on Twitch and on Twitter, go ahead and give me that follow. We're going to be doing this year round because, as Reed always says, man, the sport that never sleeps. But, man, before we even get into these power rankings for the Conference USA, I think the one burning question that is on everyone's mind, it has dominated the comment section for me, is unveiling the Conference USA live show in the past couple of days. What the heck is going on with Louisiana Tech?
Nobody knows. I mean, that's the only answer I have is I don't know, because they've sued to get out of the Conference USA now. We don't know what's going on with that. Why is somebody suing everybody nowadays? You got teams suing conferences, players suing their own teams. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And this is supposed to be the off season. So yeah, no idea where La Tech's going to end up right now.
I mean, it's hard to tell at the moment. I mean, just spoilers right off the top, like we're considering them not in the conference when we get into it. So, I mean, I had no idea what direction they're going to go in. I don't really think it benefits them either way, which conference they do end up in personally. But I mean, to each their own. If they want to go play in the Sun Belt, go play in the Fun Belt. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, if a man wants to go play in the Fun Belt, let a man play in the Fun Belt.
Exactly.
If a man wants to play in one of the more patriotic conferences in America, if it really spans the country, you really get a good glimpse of the United States by looking at Conference USA football. They could play in the Conference USA. What I find really fascinating, and I think this is the only time ever that I'm going to compare Louisiana Tech to these two schools, it reminds me a lot of the Texas and Oklahoma situation when they were in the Big 12 trying to transition over to the SEC. We saw the Big 12 sue ESPN during that time, as well as possibly sue the universities themselves on the way out because they are leaving a little earlier than perceived. And not only does that mean that this creates a golden era for lawyers. The lawyers are having a great time, obviously, but also it creates some awkward animosity the longer that you allow Louisiana Tech to stay in Conference USA. Me personally, and I don't know how you guys feel, I would personally say as long as that buyout number is relatively close, because we truly don't know what that looks like, I would just let them walk because it's going to get more awkward as it goes on.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, I didn't realize the Conference USA was this bad in the first place. I mean, I don't know that the Sun Belt is that much of a step up. I mean, I guess it is maybe a little bit better competition. Maybe you have a little bit better TV deals. That has to be what it is. But I mean, in all honesty, I don't think the Conference USA is that bad. If I was them, I'd say, okay, we'll see you later. I mean, I don't know why you keep them around, but
that's the point I was trying to make. I really think it doesn't benefit them either way which conference they do end up in. I mean, they're pretty much on par with each other for the most part. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to tell right now, but exactly like you said, AT, it's the common theme of college football nowadays. If a dilemma comes up, I'm just going to sue you. We're just going to take you to court. So,
like Jake said, the lawyers are real happy right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a real golden era, and really, why I think it would be in the interest of Conference USA to let Louisiana Tech walk as long as that buyout number is relatively similar is that it's also holding up conference schedules as well. Not only for the Conference USA, but you're also holding back the Sun Belt as well, which what I've seen from Twitter, that's created quite the frustration for fans of both conferences that are simply just trying to figure out who are they playing. We're 6 months out from the season starting, if that, and 5 to 6 months sounds like a really long time because I'm yearning for this sport to come back, and it sounds like a really long time, but to figure out who you're playing and to get travel arrangements taken care of, that's not really a lot of time at all. I'm surprised that some of these newcomer FBS schools have been able to put together some resemblance of a non-conference schedule just in the span of a few weeks, because those conversations are usually taking over a long period of time, and especially for the non-conference, I mean, that's set years in advance.
Yeah, I mean,
frustrating for athletic directors. Go ahead, Reed. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, shout out to Jack State. At least while they're sitting around waiting for their conference schedule to come out, they're busy scheduling a non-conference with North Dakota State. Like, shout out to them, taking the initiative. If we're going to wait around for our conference schedule, let at least let our fans know that we have some opponents planned that we are going to play them no matter what. So, and that's going to be a fantastic game. I'm very excited for that non-conference game. But shout out to Jack State taking the initiative.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's got to be frustrating for athletic directors too, and just everybody involved with the universities trying to figure out where their guys are going to be. But yeah, like you said, the Jack State, that game's going to be electric. I love that they're going ahead and getting some non-con going, but I don't know. It's tough. From a fan standpoint, I'm just ready to know what teams are going to be playing what next year, and I think everybody is too. So, yeah, tough to say. Maybe this is one of the reasons that they're trying to get out of the Conference USA. They need to get their stuff together, I guess. So,
for sure. Yeah, and I know that for the Conference USA in particular, they do have a contingency in terms of if La Tech remains for the 2026 campaign, they do have La Tech schedule ready, as well as the other conference affiliated members. It's just a matter of, is La Tech actually going to be around? Me personally, I think they should let La Tech walk, let them go to the Sun Belt, as long as that buyout number, again, is reasonable, because I know there's rules and bylaws that these conference members did agree to. But if you can let them walk and do it sooner rather than later. I think that's going to be in the interest of really both schools going forward.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
For sure.
But with that being said, so Reed kind of alluded to it earlier tonight, but what we are going to do is we are moving under the assumption when we are doing our Conference USA power ratings, as we're getting into spring ball, that Louisiana Tech is not going to be a part of the conference. If something does change and we think less likely there's still a CUSA member going into the 2026 football season, that's going to be a July problem. We'll make that correction in July. But for now, we are moving under the assumption of a 10-team conference. Now, for those of you that may be a little bit less familiar, hey, what's going on, Colton? How you doing? Get off my screen. But this is what we're generally going to be like working with like here tonight is what we're going to do is we are going to power rank each of these teams 1 through 10, and then maybe like in the off chance that Louisiana Tech is part of his conference, maybe we'll give like a general thought of maybe what we think where Louisiana Tech would stack along the rest of these conference members. But for now, we're assuming that it is a 10-team conference. And so without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off here in terms of who I think is going to be the number 10 team in the Conference USA, at least going into spring ball. I'm looking at New Mexico State. Tony Sanchez has had a hard time really building this program up. It seems like they haven't really recovered since both Diego Pavia and Eli Stovers left the program to go play for Vanderbilt a couple of years ago, following Jerry Krill out there to Nashville, who is the assistant. They lost quite a bit of production, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. All 3 of their guys, Ezra Christensen, Tyler Martinez, Nathan Mitchell, they were key pieces on the defensive side of the ball. They all left for Colorado. And then you look at the offense, not really much better either. Donovan Fupol is a really good player for the Aggies last year. He's gone. And then their starting tight end, Gavin Harris, who has over 500 receiving yards over the course of last season as well. Yeah, he's gone as well. So, if this New Mexico team struggled last year, and I just feel like that this team might be a step worse unless some guys internally step up and really have breakout campaigns. One name to really keep an eye on here is James Jones. He's a running back out of Delaware State. He had over 1,000 yards of from the line of scrimmage, as well as 9 touchdowns for Deshaun Jackson. Had to throw that name out there. That Eagles legend, Cal legend as well. Gosh, show out for the Cal Griffin. But I think this New Mexico State team generally is going to struggle this upcoming season. I have them at number 10.
Yeah, I'm not high on New Mexico State. I will say I'm a little bit higher than where you've got them right now. They're not my number 10 team. I can go. I'll go ahead and just go where I'm at. And just go with the number 10 team. Or I guess, Jacob, you want me to just talk about New Mexico and rank them where I got them right now?
Yeah, just go ahead and let the people know where you got New Mexico State.
I like it. Yeah, I got them at number 9. I'm not much higher at all. But I'm right there. It's tough for me. They did win a couple games in conference play last year. They weren't strong. They obviously didn't, where I'm looking at it, I think it's going to be pretty rough for them is defensively and where they've lost some production there. It was a lot of what you said. They also lost one of their starting offensive tackles. So, I just don't think they got they just didn't get enough in the portal either to replace what they lose. And honestly, they didn't have a great season anyway. So it's not like I'm super hype on them. I think that, that hopefully we'll see them improve a little bit, but I'm just not really expecting much out of them going into next season. So.
Yeah, ditto to everything that AT just said about New Mexico State. I also have them slightly better at number 9. I'm exactly for the points that you guys have said. They're losing a lot of production, and I agree with AT. Defensively is probably going to be their biggest weakness. They're losing their top 2 defensive linemen, Ezra Christensen, and I'm not even going to try to say that other guy's name. Tuitama is the other guy they're losing on the defensive line. Those are 2 big holes to fill on the defensive line. They're losing 2 of their main linebackers, and basically they're a lot of production through the secondary. Their top 3 defensive backs are also leaving through transfer or graduation. So it's going to be an uphill climb for New Mexico State. I feel like they could show some signs because I mean their portal additions aren't anything crazy, but they are from Power Four levels. So you mean Power Four production is what it is. So there could be glimpses for New Mexico State, but it's definitely going to be an uphill climb. So I'm good with them at number 9.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big year for Tony Sanchez as well. He's going into his third season with the program. I would imagine this is someone who might be a little bit warm on the, not necessarily on the hot seat, but definitely a little bit on the warmer side. You know, averaging 3.5 wins in your first 2 years. That's not ideal. I would imagine if they don't exceed expectations and at least isn't flirting with bowl eligibility at the end of this year, there might be some tough conversations to be had across this New Mexico, where maybe we do see a new head coach for the Aggies at the end of this year. So something to watch out for those that maybe thinking about that coaching carousel early on. Tony Sanchez in that third year.
For sure. I feel like this is definitely a make or break year, especially with them not having the best, incoming talent. They finished dead last in the conference in overall recruiting. They're only bringing in 10 recruits in this past cycle. So that if that's anything to go by, they're definitely not trending in the right direction. So I think this is definitely a huge year for Tony Sanchez.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, I think this has kind of got the writing on the wall for him. If he's going to stick around and get a contract extension, he better have a good season. But if not, I feel like we could be seeing some new blood in New Mexico State here in no time. So.
Hey, speaking of some of that newer older blood, like AT, I know that you're personally a little bit more in the heart of Conference USA country out there in your neck of the woods. So you didn't have New Mexico State at number 10, unlike I did. So, that begs the question, who did you have at the absolutely very bottom of the barrel?
That's a good question. And I've been back and forth on these two teams. I don't know why I've got one at 8 and one at 10. But I mean, I'm not going to give you both, but I think right now Middle Tennessee is where I'm at. I think they're kind of the worst team. I really, and once we get to my number 8 guys, I'll have a little bit more to say on it, but really just because I'm not hype on Derek Mason right now. I think he's kind of been struggling there. I think he's kind of in a make or break season as well. The sad thing is I actually do like Middle Tennessee, and I wanted to have them 7 to 6 on my board when I originally started breaking this down. But when I started doing the research, nothing good stood out to me. Their recruiting hasn't been great. They obviously didn't do fantastic last season. I think he's a defensive head coach, and their defensive production hadn't even been that good. So I'm just not hype on them at all. I just don't see that them getting it together. I think he's in a very similar position to Tony Sanchez, where if he doesn't have a good season, I think we could be seeing him walk out the door. But that for me right now, they're the last ranked team in the CUSA. So.
I am also going to match AT with that. I have Middle Tennessee as my 10th team. You're losing your starting quarterback in Nick Vitascio. I have trouble saying that. Sorry. Jaquel Middlebrook is the biggest loser to this Middle Tennessee roster. He transfers to Virginia. He was your starting tailback, 750 yards on the ground. He was an all-purpose guy. He had over 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards. So he's a huge hole to fill in that backfield. They do retain some of their top receivers. Miles Butler, Landon Collins do come back. But their best receiver, Nazee Cox, goes to Kansas through the portal. So that's a huge hole to fill. They lose their starting tight end, Hunter Tipton. 3 of their offensive linemen are also out the door. Their top 3 defensive linemen out the door. Yeah. 3 of their 4 starting linebackers out the door. I just think it's too much to replace for Middle Tennessee. So similar to New Mexico State, I have some glimpses of hope from New Mexico State, just solely for the portal talent that they're bringing in. But as for Middle Tennessee State, there's not much to say of with portal talent. Aside from Marcus Allen, he is a former 4-star recruit coming from the Mississippi State Bulldogs at receiver. So if there's any shimmer of hope for Middle Tennessee State, it's going to be through the incoming talent that they have, and also Antonio Martin Jr. from Kansas State coming in at running back. Again, former Power 4 talent. Is something to go off of. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this Middle Tennessee team. Mainly offensively, I think it's going to be a struggle. as for what I said before, losing Middlebrook to Virginia is a huge hole to fill because he essentially was the entire offense for Middle Tennessee. So I'm going to put them at 10.
Yeah.
And also thank you, Colton, for continuing to disagree with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you really making sure the chat is hopping. So it's really fascinating about Mid Tennessee because you see that my number 9 is open. So you would think that I would have him at least 9. Well, as you can see, I don't have him at number 9. I actually got him as number 8. I got him as my number 8 team. I'm actually a little bit higher on this Mid Tennessee team than I am, I think, maybe of consensus. So when I was looking at comparing Mid Tennessee to Mexico State, I think both teams, lost quite a bit of talent in the transfer portal. I know that's something that we talked about already earlier tonight, but the difference between Mid Tennessee and the number 9 team that I'm going to touch up on in a little bit, as well as New Mexico State, who I have at no kidding at the very bottom of the barrel. I actually thought they did a little bit of a better job of getting guys in the transfer portal that have proven production maybe at lower levels. So I'm willing to give Mid Tennessee a little bit of a higher baseline, particularly with Derek Mason also being a little bit more of an experienced head coach as well. So I don't think that this team is going to finish in last place, in spite of the fact that they do need to replace their starting quarterback. A few names to definitely keep an eye on, particularly on the defense side of the ball. Ashton Taylor, he is a linebacker from Jackson State. He had multiple forced fumbles last year for one of the best teams in the HBCU ranks last season. Led them almost, I believe, to a Celebration Bowl appearance. Shout out to the Celebration Bowl, by the way. But then he also brought in a really spectacular Division II corner in Jason Hardy, coming from one of the best Division II programs in the country in Grand Valley. He was a Division II All-American. Can definitely step in and fill a role right away for this Blue Raiders defense. And then how can I mention Hogan Wasan, another name to watch out for this Blue Raiders team. Had over 600 yards receiving for Central Missouri last year. Unlike like the number 9 and number 10 team, I think for Mid Tennessee, I think they have a few more intriguing pieces that I can look at and think, okay, these guys can step up and play a role. And yeah, maybe they're not going to be very good, and we're still going to end up seeing Derek Mason fired anyways because he is going on his 3rd year. But I don't think that it's going to be a complete disaster either.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good points. I'm just not hype on him. I think Derek Mason's kind of lost a lot of his credibility with me, I guess, and I just don't think that their transfer portal talent is going to be enough to cover them. I mean, yeah, it's not like you're just saying they're going to win the Conference USA or anything either, Jake. But for me, they're kind of bottom of the barrel right now. So,
ditto.
Well, I mean, you could also say the same thing about this next team that I do have on the list. That's going to come in as my number 9. And I'm sure you guys are a little bit higher on Sam Houston than I am, just looking at the how the graphic is developing right now. I have Sam Houston as my number 9 team going into this season. It was quite a disaster for Phil Longo, like taking over, going 2-10 last year. And really the biggest problem for Sam Houston last season was even when the defense played okay, which didn't happen too terribly often, if we're going to be honest with you, the offense was, the 3 of us could suit up, and we probably could at least collectively call a better game plan most of the time on EA College Football than what we saw from Phil Longo's offense in year number 1. And I feel like they got worse offensively. They lost Colt Dietrich on the offensive line. He was their star offensive lineman, one of the best players that they had on the team. He's gone. And now at Washington, they did add a couple of intriguing pieces. Josiah Chenault actually got him from Kennesaw State, which I was really surprised about. We'll talk about Kennesaw State in a little bit. He was actually an all-conference lineman for the Owls last year, so that was a good pickup. I don't think he's at the same level as a Colt, but someone that could help stabilize an offensive line a little bit. And then Brian Bates as well. They brought in a linebacker. So the defense might be a little bit better, but because that offense was so bad and I don't see that offense improving, I actually could see it taking a step back somehow. That's why I had Sam Houston at number 9.
Yeah, I'm not much higher on Sam Houston right now. I've got him sitting at number 8. I'm right there in the same spot as you pretty much. It's everything you said about him. And it's everything Colton said in the chat. I don't really have much faith on Phil Longo, to be honest. They did do really well in the portal from a ranking standpoint, which is why I was going to have them dead last, but I put them up a little bit just because I think that they do have some talent. I don't know if he's going to be able to get the best out of his talent. And I don't really, it's what you said. The biggest struggle is he's an offensive guy. He's an offensive coordinator, air raid offense. They tout him. He's been at some big programs. And for whatever reason, their offense is the problem. So there's nothing that really excites me about them except for the fact that they might have a really good defense. They've added some good pieces out of the P4. I know Zion Taylor's one of them that's an edge rusher that's going to be somebody to watch. But other than that, I'm not hype on Sam Houston. I think that they could be better than they were last year. I hope they are, but I don't think they're going to be much better than, a 8 to 10 range team for me. So
once again, AT and I are aligned. I have Sam Houston at number 8. Again, for all the points that both of you have said, I'm in the similar boat of AT. Because of the portal additions that they did make, I think they could show some glimpses of, solid play. But again, having to replace your quarterback, starting running back, a handful of receivers, 3 of your offensive linemen, it's going to be a struggle offensively. I do like the additions again that they made in the portal. Kai and Barry Johnson and Christian Zachary both come from P4 levels of Wisconsin and NC State respectfully. And they also keep their top 2 receivers in Grady O'Neal and Chris Reed. So the receivers are looking pretty solid for the most part, but can they get solid quarterback play? The predominant issue with their quarterback play last year between Hunter Watson and Landon Locke and Mabry Matter, turnovers. Turnovers was the biggest thing for all 3 quarterbacks that played last year. So can they limit the turnovers? That will be seen. I just think it's definitely, again, one for these bottom 3 teams, they're at the bottom looking up for a reason. I just give Sam Houston State the best, chance of the 3 bottom teams, just solely because of the portal additions that they did make. We could be completely wrong again, and they hit on all the portal acquisitions that they did make. So I'm going to put Sam Houston at number 8.
Sam Houston's a team that could be good, but they got to prove it first, in my opinion. I mean, I think that's kind of the big thing. So
yeah, and that's totally fair. I mean, there's certainly there could be like some guys internally that step up and have breakout seasons that Sam Houston can surpass at number 8 list. But how I always do my rankings, at least for me personally, is I always go based off of baseline, assuming nobody develops from one year to the next. So I mean, until I hear positive things in spring ball and in summer camp, I mean, I can't be very high on the Sam Houston team moving forward either. But they certainly have some upside, as you guys mentioned.
Colin is pissing me off. I just got to say it real quick. He is on one tonight. He is on one.
Yeah, we might be seeing one of the greatest rivalries in sports unfold. It might be even more intense than the game or like the Army Navy matchup. Like Reed versus Colton.
At least it didn't hear.
I gotta start stoking the fire more and more.
At least you didn't hear what I said before the show.
Yeah, no kidding.
I forgot. He didn't even know that you dissed him before the show.
He didn't even know I took a shot at him before we even went live.
E for soundtrack and everything in the background. Yeah, y'all are making me like nervous. So like I feel like I'm sticking out like a sore thumb, and I feel like you two are like just 2 peas in the pod. So Reed, I'm curious. Since you and AT have been like on a completely same wavelength right now, who you got on deck after the 3 teams that we already talked about?
Well, first of all, Colton, it is all love, and I hope you know that. I hope this doesn't come as a shock to us, but at number 7, I have Missouri State. I have Missouri State at number 7, just solely because they bring in Ryan Beard as their new head coach. He comes in from SMU, or Casey Woods, excuse me. Casey Woods comes in from SMU. Ryan Beard took the Coastal Carolina job. Casey Woods comes in from SMU. no knock on Casey Woods. I think it's a good hire. It's a solid hire. I just think it's going to take some time to build in his tenure at Missouri State. He loses his starting quarterback, Jacob Clark, to graduation, over 3,000 yards passing. Starting running back, Shamari Lawrence, is also at the door, had over 1,000 yards on the ground. He is also out the door. Dash Luke, the top receiver on the team, graduated as well, but they do retain, not going to pronounce that first name, Robinson at receiver, is probably their most productive receiver coming back. So that's something to build off of. They also bring in a couple of other notable talents throughout the portal. The biggest thing for me offensively, aside from the names that I already said, is returning production to the offensive line. They're losing 4 of their starters from last season. Only Matthew Green at right guard is the only returning offensive lineman, and the depth isn't anything too crazy on the offensive line. Also, their defensive line, basically their trenches are a complete mess right now, essentially. That I could read you the amount of names that are leaving through transfers or graduation on the defensive line, and it would look like a CVS pharmacy receipt. So their defensive line is going to potentially be a problem going into the season for Missouri State. But again, I give them the benefit of the doubt because I am a Casey Woods fan. I think there's a lot of upside with his hire from Missouri State. So I think they have potential to be a bowl team potentially in this conference. So I give them the upside. Casey Woods, big fan. I just think it's going to take time to build under him. So I'm going to put them at 7.
Go ahead, Jake.
All right. You look like you were ready to jump at the bit, so I wanted to give you a chance. So I'm actually a little bit higher on this Missouri State team than Reed. I actually had them like in the top half of his league. I had them at number 5 for some of the reasons that you talked about as well. Listen, Casey Woods is an inexperienced head coach, and we're going to be very curious to see what he looks like in terms of being in charge of his own football program for the first time at least at the FBS level. But I'm overall high on him because I love what he did at SMU, particularly with the development of Kevin Jennings, being a pivotal part of leading SMU to the college football playoff back in 2024, and then repeating that yet again with a pretty good season in 2025. That Mustangs team is going to be an intriguing team to watch moving forward. They are going to lose Jacob Clark, and that is, a quarterback that you would love to have on your football team, but he did graduate. They did, however, add an experienced quarterback in Skylar Locklear, who he didn't have the best season, 1,800 yards. He had 21 total touchdowns. He kind of split back and forth between him and Malachi Nelson for UTEP last season. But it is an experienced starting quarterback. And Casey Woods being a quarterback whisperer, working with an experienced quarterback, I think does bode well. And then they do also return Jaron Askren, a tight end who was a third-team all-conference player for this Missouri State Bears football team last year, on top of Yusef Obid, the kicker. So they should have one of the better special teams units, which a lot of these Conference USA games are going to be really close. Okay, it's not going to be one of those conferences where it was a few years ago where one team is going to be head and shoulders above the rest, and it's not going to be even close, right? There's going to be a lot of close games that happen. And, when you have a lot of those close games, having a good kicker matters. And Missouri State is going to have one of the best kickers in this conference. They also added Dylan Brooks, who I'm very intrigued about. Hasn't played a lot in his career, transfers in from Kansas, but he is a former blue chip recruit. So there's always some upside there that I'm intrigued about. He just hasn't put it together on the field yet. So, that because I really like Casey Woods, I like that they have an experienced quarterback as well. And then the special team should be at least in the top half of this league. That's why I'm okay with having Missouri State in the top 5 in spite of losing a Jacob Clark.
Yeah, I think they're a good football team. I think they've got a good chance. I'm more hype on the coach than I am anything else, really, if I'm being honest. I think Casey Woods can be a good coach. Obviously, he's a new head coach. There's a lot of unknowns. I mean, this is another team I think that has to prove some stuff to me. But I mean, you said a couple of things, Jake, that I wanted to point out. Skylar Locklear, I think he is a good quarterback. I think that he can do a good job. I know that we don't know a ton about him. He did split time with Malachi. But then they also added Dylan Brooks on the edge. And Reed made some great points about how the defensive line is going to struggle. But Dylan Brooks is a dog, and that is somebody that they at least do a little bit of replacing with there. But I'm right in between you guys here. I'm at number 6 from Missouri State. I'm not just thinking that they're going to go out and knock the Conference USA by storm or anything, but I do think that they could improve and be a really good middle of the pack team going into next season. And if they do, then Casey Woods, I think he's a coach that they should retain, and he could end up winning this conference for them in the next couple seasons. But we'll see.
Also, Jake, because you just talk about all name team a lot, let's not forget King Large on the offensive line. King Large at offensive tackle. It's a name to watch.
King Large. What an incredible name. I didn't even see that at I didn't have him down under my notes, but hey, I can always get behind some all name action.
Anybody named King Large is probably the best offensive lineman in the country. Is all I gotta say.
That's first team. No, that's first team all name.
Dude, he's 6'4", 316. I mean, come on now.
Came from SMU. Came from SMU. Followed Casey Woods. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually incredible. I love to see that. It's that's what makes the G5 so special. You get some fun names like that maybe don't get a ton of love, but man, that's a first team All-American from a name perspective. Maybe even straight to the NFL if he could have some good production as well. You're going to stand out automatically, right? So, it's going to be interesting to see how Casey Woods is in your number 1, and it at least makes me more hopeful than the next team that I do happen to have on this list. I actually have Liberty here coming in at number 7. This Liberty team, we thought that this was going to be one of the powerhouses of the G5 with how they went undefeated a few years ago, and they went to a New Year's Six Bowl. But then I don't know what it is. Ever since Jamie Chadwell took over, he's in his 4th year now. Seems like Liberty finds itself on a decline. 2024, a little bit disappointing, but they still had a winning season and go to a bowl game. Last year, you end up going ahead, and that Liberty team went 4-8. It was some disgusting stuff that happened. They do bring Daryl Farrar, the linebacker for Liberty. He's a 3rd-team all-conference guy. He's going to be back with this Flames football team. And, they have some intriguing additions too, mainly Kanye Udo from Arizona State, someone that I think is going to be a starter for this Liberty football team going into this season. But in a team that, struggled like it did last year, particularly, again, on the offensive side of the ball, they lost Dante Lee. He transfers to Texas Tech. And then they also lose Evan Dickens, the running back that was on this team. 1,400 total yards, 17 touchdowns. He went to Boston College. So he's gone. So I just don't have a lot of faith generally in Jamie Chadwell, because it seems like the program as a whole, especially, is going in a wrong direction. Given that almost half of his wins in his coaching tenure with this Flames football team happened in year 1, and we're now talking about him entering his 4th season for this Lynchburg football squad.
Yeah, Reed, I can go ahead. I am higher on Liberty. I think I agree with the stuff about Chadwell, so it's tough for me to just come in and just sell you on them, but they did have the best portal class in the whole group. He's obviously doing a really good job of recruiting even after a down year for him. I am excited about this Liberty team. I think this is probably the most excited I've been since Chadwell's been there, to be honest. I think once Hugh left, they did lose a lot of talent that year. A lot of guys, portaled out. I think he tried to kind of keep the team together more than anything. So it's tough to say. I mean, you're right. They are losing some really good running back talent in Evan Dickens, but they also added 2 guys out of the P4. One of them's I'm drawing a blank. I'm going to pull him up right here because I had him written down earlier. It was Peyton Jones out of Duke. That was a really talented guy out of high school. I remember being recruited really talented. He was well known. So I have them sitting at number 5 right now. This is a middle of the pack team for me. I'm not saying they're going to make a run for the Conference USA, but I do think they're going to be good. And I do think they're going to win several games in the conference next year, solely based off of the talent level that they're bringing in. Every single guy that you look at on their portal here is coming from a P4 team. A lot of Georgias, a lot of NC States, a lot of West Virginia quarterbacks, and Jalen Henderson, who's another guy to watch for. So I'm excited about this team, and I think they could be good again, which is, I think, good for the Conference USA. There was a time people like to turn on and watch Liberty, and it'd be cool if we could get back to that.
I am also a little higher on Liberty than you, Jake. I'm going to go with Liberty at 4, just solely for the points that AT talked about. I'm really high on their portal additions, mainly Kanye Udo, like you talked about, Jake, but also Cam Davis. He's a former 4-star prospect, came from Florida State. I think that trio that we've talked about at running back is going to be able to fill the production of Evan Dickens, not to the extent of 1,300 yards on the ground, but I think it's going to be able to backfill as a collective group. Also, a name to look out for: Ethan Vasco does return at quarterback, but he had more interceptions than touchdowns. So, a name to look out for at quarterback coming in from Wake Forest is Sean Purdy. He's a former 3-star prospect out of high school. He comes in from Wake Forest, got some playing time last year in 8 games. So, I think bringing that power 4 experience at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field, I think is going to be valuable to them. Also, Indiana receiver comes in, Mekhi Jackson. Didn't get a ton of playing time last year, but again, if you're coming from Signetti, I'm going to trust you. So I think their portal class is solid. They also bring back a good chunk of their offensive line from last season, which I think continuity at that position group is key to have. Also, a name to watch out on the offensive line: Alex Burkmeyer comes in from Penn State, the former 4-star recruit out of high school. So I think there's a lot for this Liberty team to build on. Again, I'm not saying they're going to win the conference or anything, but I think they have a lot to build on with the portal additions that they did made, and I think it's a bounce back year for them.
Yeah, I just can't get like as hyped about Liberty as you guys can, because I know you guys mentioned talking about some of the additions that they made in the transfer portal. But for me, a lot of those additions in the transfer portal bank a little bit more on the potential side of things than the production. And I always try not to take stock into purely what the recruiting rankings look right? Because we should see Florida State, for example, over the last couple of years with the way that they've been recruiting, they should have been a lot better. But then instead, what we've seen is, Florida State put together a 2-10 campaign, and then, last year, they go 5-7, even though they beat Alabama. So I just cannot. I really don't think that Jamie Chadwell can right the ship necessarily. I think it could be another campaign, especially if you're banking a little bit more on that on potential versus bringing guys in like maybe some of the other teams that I have ahead on this list that have a little bit more proven production that they're bringing in, even if it's from a lower level versus bringing in a power conference guy, but the power conference guy better be played. So we don't really know how good the power conference guy actually is.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And I mean, it's a lot of speculation on them for me. I just think that they're a straight up five middle of the pack team. I don't see them losing. I think they'll go 4-4 in conference play or something like that. I guess they play 8 still. So yeah, I would imagine that it's going to be like a 4-4 year for them. I could see them getting over the hump and winning 5 games in conference play. I mean, this is a team that didn't just get blown out a ton last year. I think James Madison beat them pretty good. And there was a couple other teams that got on them, but I mean, they took it to Delaware, which I think was a good team. And, even at the end of the year, Kennesaw State only beat them by 6 points, and that was a 48-42 game. So it's not like that's kind of the I think the saving grace for me was that it does look like they're upgrading their roster in a lot of points, and they didn't just get smoked last year in conference play. So it's tough to tell, but I mean, I think they'll be better than they were, at least. Is kind of where I've got them. So
yeah, I agree with AT. They had 4 conference losses by 1 score.
Yeah.
So I mean, you flip 2 of those, and you're a winning team in conference. So, I mean, yeah, it's tough. I just think there's a lot of upside to potentially hit with their portal additions. But I totally understand what you're saying, Jake. Jamie Chadwell, I'm not the highest on him as a head coach either. I think their portal additions could make some magic.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Jake, too. Like, it's just all speculation at this point. We don't know. Like you said, it's not production yet. So, I think they'll be a team we can tell pretty early on if they're going to be better or worse than they were last year.
Yeah, but as we get ready to close out on the bottom half of the on the CUSA, listen, it's not Liberty at number 7 for UAT, and it's not Missouri State either. So, who the heck is your 7? Like, who fills that spot in for you?
I feel like you guys are going to be a little against me on this one, but I got FIU sitting at number 7 right now. Not hype on them. I mean, they lost Keon Jenkins. They did add some guys into the portal, but I just don't think they did enough. I think they had like I want to say the fourth best recruiting class, which was good, but I just don't think they're going to get enough guys in. And I mean, with Willie Simmons as the head coach, it's not that I'm just like super against Willie Simmons. It's just not proven enough to me yet. And so, I don't want to step on too many of the points that you guys have. If y'all can sell me on some stuff there, then please do. I mean, they did have a good year last year. They won 5 games in the conference, but I'm not hype on them right now. And I think it's going to be tough for FIU to get in there and be a dominant program going into next season. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know you have it at number 7, but I mean, I don't have them much higher personally. I mean, I have them at number 6 myself, and it's not even because I don't think that they're going to be a good football team this season. I actually think the opposite. I actually think FIU is actually going to be a little bit better than last year. It's just that I think there's a few other teams that I haven't mentioned yet that I think are going to be that good. It's not even that I think FIU is going to be awful or they're going to take a step back. I could really see this FIU team playing in a bowl game once again when we come back into the December timeframe for 2026. I do like that they added, if I could find my notes for FIU or somewhere, they do bring in a couple of key returns on that defensive side of the ball. I think the defense is going to be pretty good with Kendon Simmons, who is a second team all guy, all conference guy. He plays on the edge. And then they also bring back Shamir Sterling, who's a third team all conference player, plays at the safety position. A couple of other players I'm curious about. I know they lose Keon Jenkins, but they backfill with JJ Cole, who started last year in some spots for Appalachian State. So there's at least an experienced quarterback there. But then you also have a sneaky good weapon in Greg Gaines III, transferring in from Rhode Island. He had 1,000 yards receiving last year. So, I mean, it doesn't matter what level you are. If you're putting up 1,000 yards, because there isn't as much of a perceived gap in skill position talent as there is in like offensive or defensive line play. So, Greg Gaines is someone that could walk in right away and be productive in the Conference USA, even though he played in the FCS last year. I like Willie Simmons. I like what he's doing down there. They're also sponsored by Mr. Worldwide. So, I mean, there's some positive energy in this program. I just think that highly about my top 4. That's why I have FIU at 6. But I think they're going to be a better team than last year, even though they're technically in my bottom half.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll be better, and I do like JJ Cole. I think that was a good addition. I think he's gonna help them out a lot. So,
yeah, not to steal all your thunder, Jake, but I also have FIU at number 6. I think the biggest hole personally for me is their offensive line. They're replacing 3 offensive linemen from last season, so it's going to be tough to backfill that chunk of production on your offensive line. But totally agree to the points that you said. I think bringing in JJ Cole at quarterback is going to be an upgrade from Keon Jenkins. I think that proven production is going to show from day one. But Keyshawn Owens is a huge hole to fill in the backfield. So clearly time will tell how that plays out. So I think there's definitely a lot of upside with this FIU team. Defensively, they do have to fill in some gaps on that defensive line that they do lose from last season. But exactly for the points that you guys said, I'm a Willie Simmons guy as well. I think he's a very solid head coach, and I think can definitely take FIU to the next level. I just think this is another building year under his tenure. So I'm good. Put him middle of the pack here at number 6.
Yeah, so boys, we officially reached actually a little bit more than the halfway mark. We completely filled out the the bottom half. We'll get to the top half of the Conference USA in a little bit. But for now, really want to take the time to really appreciate everyone that is watching, whether it is YouTube, Twitch, or like over on Twitter. Regardless of whether you're watching, if you want to go ahead, take a few seconds, hit that like button, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button. Regardless of whether you're watching, I would truly appreciate it. Definitely a lot of work that goes behind previewing all 138 FBS teams as we get closer into spring ball. But with that being said, Reed, you just finished your bottom half as well. You still got number 5 wide but naked open. So what's that number 5 going to be? Who's going to fill that 5 hole for you as we get into the 2026 campaign?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Delaware Blue Hens at number 5. I like Ryan Carty. I'm a fan of his. He did sign an extension this past offseason, so I'm a big fan of his. I think having a middle of the pack recruiting ranking is good, especially at Delaware. It's only your second. You're going into your second year in Division One football, at least at the FBS level. So I think this is a Ryan Carty feeling for me. I think Ryan Carty could get his squad, back in competing in Conference USA once again. To go to a bowl game and win a bowl game in your first year at the FBS level is no easy feat, excuse me. So I think this is personally just a vibes pick for me. I like Delaware. I have no problem with Delaware at all. So I'm cool with putting them at number 5. I think they're going to be a competitive team. And especially, how could we not forget the Minicucci? How can we not forget Nick Minicucci? So yeah, Delaware at 5 for me. I mean, obviously you two are higher on them. So
I am absolutely hype on Delaware. I mean, this is my favorite team in the Conference USA. I'm not afraid to scream it from the rooftop. That's only because their quarterback has hands down the best name in college football, Nick Minicucci. Come on, I'll never forget it. Me and my boys were watching them play one night. We were like, "Is that dude's name actually Minicucci? No way!" And ever since then, I've been a Delaware Blue Hen till I die, and that was just this season. So. Obviously playing him in our dynasty read, that's, I got a little bit of, a little love for him there. The only famous person to like one of my tweets so far on Tampa 2 was Nick Minicucci himself. So I'm hype on him. I've got him at number 4 though. Ryan Carty. It's everything you said about him. I think they're good. He's a great coach. He was the former FCS coordinator of the year at San Houston State. So, I mean, this is a guy that is going to put up some good offenses. He's a heck of a quarterback coach, obviously. Just what he's been able to do with Nick there. It wasn't their portal additions or their recruiting that got them in the top 4 for me. It was what they retained. They retained their quarterback. They retained Gavin Moole, who had over 100 tackles last year for them. They retained Sean Wilson, who's going to be one of the best, I think, Conference USA wide receivers going into next season. So, I mean, they kept their guys around. This is a team that didn't add much in the portal, but they didn't lose much either. So this is, I think, one of the only squads that we can say out of the G5 that is honestly sticking together. And so for that alone, I'm extremely hype on them, especially since it was their first year in the Conference USA and at the FBS Division I level, and in the FBS, and they went 4-4 in this conference and 7-6 and lost some really close, tight games throughout the year. I am extremely hype on Delaware. I think that this could be a team I would even put some money on to win this conference. But for now, power ranking, I got them sitting at number 4. So.
Yeah, and I definitely see what you're coming from, because when it comes to returning production, I think they have arguably the best returning production in this conference, not just with Nick Minicucci, but a few of the other key players that you mentioned as well, all of which are all conference guys. So maybe not my favorite to win this conference, because I am a little bit worried about the offensive line. They did lose Onwar O'Neal. He was an all-conference player for his Delaware football team last year. Was really a cornerstone that helped protect the blind side of Nick Minicucci so that he can make those magical plays happen over the course of the season. But because I have concerns about the offensive line, I do have them at number 4 because I worry about how that trench play is going to hold up over the course of a 12-game season. But I would not at all be surprised if Delaware won this conference, especially if the offensive line is better than expected. Again, I mean, that's just how highly I think of the top 3 teams that I have on this list. And I will say this about those Blue Hens teams. I think they're closing the gap on I think is the class of this conference. I was really close to putting them into my top 3. I really was, but because I have a little bit more questions about their offensive line, I had to keep them at 4. But yeah, Nick Minicucci, he is that guy. He is a certified baller. And I'm certainly not going to go against Nick Minicucci on any given Saturday.
Yeah, what a name, what a guy, and yeah, for whatever reason, I love the Blue Hens too. I think they got a cool logo. So
yeah, and I have a soft spot for me particularly, because I do have a couple of cousins that did end up going to Delaware, and I know it's a really exciting time for them. to move up to the FBS level last year and to immediately have success. Because sometimes when you see a team make that transition, it doesn't always work out. And there's countless examples of that. So far, Delaware is holding their own. So I do want to commend them, particularly for Ryan Carty for leading the transition and leading that transition effectively.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I think he's going to be a name to watch as a head coach going forward. So
if he ever wants to leave, because he could be a Delaware guy through and through. We have seen that with like our G5 coaches, such as a Chuck Martin, for example, who probably has had his opportunities after what he's done at Miami of Ohio, but chose to stay. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you, AT. He's certainly a name to watch if he continues to have his success. It's just a matter of if he actually wants to leave or not.
Right. Yeah. And he played there. I'm pretty sure. I guess he played there under what's his name? Flacco, when Flacco was at Delaware. So yeah, I guess he could just be a Delaware guy, Yeah.
So I think it seems like our top three is going to be exactly the same. AT, I'm gonna let you tee off, since I know I talked to Reed more recently about like his next pick. So who you teeing off as your number 3 team? It looks like the class of the conference.
I've got Kennesaw State here. Obviously they had such a good season last year, 10-4 overall, 7-1. I am incredibly hype on Jerry Mack. I think he is the man. But it's just, I don't really know why they're not my number 1 team, other than the fact that I'm extremely hype on my number 1 and 2. But I do think Kennesaw State's going to be right back in the hunt next year. They did lose some guys out into the portal, but a lot of their guys went to the P4 level just because they did have such a good season. And what Jerry Mack was able to do with this team and put them on the map like that, I think that's obviously just a testament to him, which is why they're a top 3 team for me. But they did add some good guys as well. I mean, Ricky Collins from Syracuse is at quarterback. He's going to be a stud for them. They also got Mateo Guerra out of Middle Tennessee State. He was the starter. He's got some reps under him and on the offensive side, on the offensive line. I think they're going to be a really good football team. This ranking is more just because I think that they have a great coach at the helm. They didn't add just a ton of production, but they didn't lose, just too much either. But yeah, I think that they're going to continue to be good as long as they can continue in the route they've been, because this is a team a couple years ago that was hands down the worst in almost all of college football. So it's incredible to see where they are now. At the top of the Conference USA.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow in AT's footsteps here. I'm gonna go with Kennesaw State as my number 3 team as well. This is an unbelievable job done by Jerry Mack so far in his tenure there. Similar to the points that AT already pointed out, Ricky Collins does come in at quarterback. They did a trade with Syracuse. Amari Odom did go to Syracuse from Kennesaw State. He was their all-world quarterback there. Did a fantastic job last year for the Owls. So it's interesting to see how Ricky Collins fits in, in his real, true, first test as a starter in college football. So we'll see how it plays out for him. I think their running back room is something to look out for. They bring in Tristan Morgan, and he comes from, I had it here. There it is. He comes from Benedict College. Tristan Morgan comes in from Benedict College. He had over 800 yards rushing last season. So I think that'll be able to, supplement some of the production loss from Coleman Bennett and Chase Beller from the backfield last year. They also lose their top 3 receivers, but I think they did backfill pretty well. They bring in Dylan Gary from Georgia Southern, Zion Booker from Tulsa, and a couple of other lower level college football guys. Braden Monroe, he comes in from Northern Colorado. He had nearly 700 yards receiving last year for the Bears. So I think they backfilled well through the portal. And again, I'm a huge Jerry Mack guy, exactly for like what AT said. I think he's done a fantastic job so far. Their offensive line is going to be something to look out for, though. They do lose their center Josiah Chenault, as we said, and Brandon Best at left guard as well. So losing some of those players that were part of the rebuild of Kennesaw State to where they are now, I think is going to be something to look out for on the offensive line. But I think Jerry Mack is going to be able to, rally the troops and find a way to keep Kennesaw State competitive going into 2026. So I'm gonna stick with AT here. I'm gonna put him at number 3.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sound too much of a broken record myself because I'm like you guys. I have Kennesaw State coming in as my number 3 team. Really like what Jerry Mack has done. He's done a tremendous job turning this program around. Getting 10 wins in his first year, conference champions. I'm sure you would have wanted the Myrtle Beach Bowl to go a little bit better than how it ended up turning out. But I mean, that was a really good football team in Western Michigan in its own right. Really, the big wild card here is what do we get out of Ricky Collins? We haven't seen him play too terribly much at Syracuse. He had his moments, but he didn't have extensive playing time for the Orange last year, even after we saw the season-ending injury to Stephon Gelly, who was going to be the full-time starter for the Orange, and he was playing extremely well in his own right before he got hurt. I do think that the offense, I think he's going to have some weapons to work with, like with what you mentioned with Joe Murrow and Tristan Morgan. I think they got a dynamic backfield. The receivers, I think, are going to be pretty solid as well. It just really comes down to, is Ricky Collins a starting caliber quarterback at the FBS level? And if that answer is yes, and maybe he even ventures into G5 star, I mean, look out for this Kennesaw Owls football team. They legitimately can go out there and they can replicate the success that we had in 2025, which I know that was a question that we had prior, but it's really going to be like how quickly does Ricky Collins pick up that Mac attack, Viren Hoot offense, as the Sidelines Kennesaw State account mentioned like earlier today. If Ricky Collins is a stud and he's a G5 caliber star, then you're looking at Kennesaw State possibly repeating as your CUSA champions. But, for now, because we don't know what we're getting out of Ricky Collins, that's why I also had him as my third, because we haven't seen him play.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I think he will be good, especially in the Conference USA. But like you said, we haven't seen much out of him, and we don't know a ton. But we've seen what Jerry Mack can do with less. So I think that's kind of why all three of us are at least hype on them being a good team next year. So what a heck of a job he's done, no doubt.
Yeah, and I will say this too about Jerry Mack because Amari Odom had an incredible season. He wasn't even originally supposed to be the starter. There was somebody else that was originally starting for this Kennesaw State team. I believe it was like Dexter Lawrence. He was a transfer out of Indiana who was on this team last year, and then he didn't pan out. So they got really lucky that Amari Odom did step in after that slow start offensively for the original starter, and the rest was history.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, so we're down to our bottom two. So I'm going to go ahead and kick things off here with our number 2 team here. I actually do have the defending conference champ. Well, not defending conference champions, but they were in the CUSA championship game last year, and I think there's a real chance that they do end up coming back this year. That's Jacksonville State. A lot of people are going to talk about Cam Cook, and Cam Cook was incredible for this Jacksonville State football team. He was the leading rusher in the NCAA in rushing yards last year, and he's not here any more. So that's going to be a tough loss. They're going to have some questions on the defensive line, particularly losing multiple defensive linemen to the power conference schools, but there's still a lot of talent coming back, particularly at that front 7. You're talking about Walker Osteen, stud, second-team all-conference guy. Max Sanders, fellow linebacker, stud, third-team all-conference guys. They got 2 very good corners in Caleb Nix and Taquan Fangans. He's going to lock things down on the outside. DeAndre Johnson, even though he was a very in a run-heavy offense with Cam Cook, and they weren't really doing the forward passes often, or at least throwing the ball down the field. As a wide receiver, he was still a third-team all-conference guy as well. And the best kicker that actually was in his conference last year, in Garrison Ripa, he's back as well. He was a first-team all-conference player for Jacksonville State as well. I really like Charles Kelly, and I look at this football team, and if they can figure out how to have more balance offensively, Jacksonville State can, in fact, take that next step and be your champions of the CUSA, unlike last year where they got close, but it wasn't necessary. But it was no cigar. Close only counts on horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear missiles. But for now, until we know that they have a forward passing game, that's really the difference. If they have a passing game this year, they're going to win this conference. even not, this is still a very dangerous football team, and I have it at number 2 because of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with you there, Jake. I also have Jack State at number 2, and solely for the reason that you pointed out. If they get some semblance of a passing game, they're gonna win. They're gonna win this conference. Caden Creel comes back at quarterback. Let's not forget he also rushed for over 1,100 yards at quarterback. So let's not overlook that as well. Coming back at quarterback, filling the production of Cam Cook is going to be their biggest question offensively. Alongside the offensive line, they do lose Cam Cook to West Virginia, along with both starting offensive guards. Bubba Grayson and Cameron Griffin follow Cam Cook to West Virginia. So it's going to be interesting how they backfill that offensive line group alongside Reggie Jackson at right tackle going to Boston College. So it's going to be interesting how they backfill that offensive line. But I think they're poised to be competitive once again in the Conference USA. They add Bo Burks from North Carolina at center and Caleb Holmes, former 4-star prospect out of Pitt. So I think they backfilled well out of the portal. And again, solely for the reason you stated, Jake, if they find any semblance of a pass game, they bring back their best receiver in DeAndre Johnson, who had over 700 yards last season. So if they find any semblance of a pass game, Jack State is going to win this conference. But because we don't know if Caden Creel is going to be able to throw a forward pass effectively, I have him at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same exact spot. I mean, it's all the same notes I have. Great job that Charles Kelly's done and will continue to do. They did lose Cam Cook. They lose Malcolm Jones on the defensive side. Those are some tough holes to fill, but I think they did fine doing it. I think a lot of the running game was just because of how good their offensive line was. They do add Caleb Holmes, like you mentioned, Reed, out of Pitt. He's going to be somebody that really is a day one addition to them. And we know their defense. We know their defense is going to be good. They were the 3rd best team in the Conference USA. If you take out La Tech, they're the 2nd in defensive efficiency last year. I think that's a huge stat. We know that that's going to continue. So as long as they can throw the ball, they have an 1,100 yard quarterback, 1,100 yard rushing quarterback. I think they'll be fine, and I think this is the team we'll be talking about in the Conference USA Championship next season. A lot to look forward to at Jack State right now. So.
Yeah, and a lot to look forward to towards the top. Really, like some great minds think alike, especially the last couple of teams. So, no secret I think who's going to be our top team in the Conference USA. It's by unanimous decision. The Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. They are going to be the team to beat in the Conference USA, at least as we get things going here in spring ball. And I think at the end of the day, for me, and I'm curious to hear what your guys' reasons why you have Western Kentucky at number 1. First and foremost, I think Western Kentucky is the most well-run organization in this conference right now, particularly with the stability that they have at head coach. Tyson Heldon, he's been a steady hand for the Hilltoppers football team. They do also bring back multiple all-conference guys. And then they also didn't really get rated in the transfer portal. It's pretty put together group overall. Plus, they bring in a couple of intriguing weapons in Sincere Baines and Josiah Rockwell from the FCS ranks as well. So I really like Tyson Heldon. I think he's done a really good job at Western Kentucky, doing some good work like out there in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And because this team is relatively staying together, I think they have what it takes to win this conference and get to the mountaintop in the CUSA.
Yeah, I mean, I've got them number 1. It's all the same things you said. They do lose some guys like Lavelle Wright, was a good running back for them. They lose Matthew Henry, which is a good wide receiver for them. But other than that, I mean, they're going to be fine. They get Brock Glenn out of FSU, who's going to be their quarterback next year. They had Maverick McIver. He was the 2025 New Orleans Bowl MVP. He had over 2,000 passing yards. And he was somebody that you didn't really hear about a ton. I feel like Tyson Helton's just done a good job of putting these guys in the right position. So, and also just from an offensive and defensive efficiency standpoint, last year they were the best overall rated offense, and they were number 2 in defense just behind La Tech. So you take La Tech out of the conference, we're talking about the number 1 best team in the conference for offensive and defensive efficiency. Just doesn't mean that, obviously they didn't put together the full win threshold like they wanted to, but overall they were the best team in the conference from a statistical standpoint. So, I'm really hype on the Hilltoppers. Love their mascot, love their branding. So I hope we can continue to see them, no doubt.
Yeah, for all the points you guys talked about, I think a player to really look out for with this Western Kentucky team is Sincere Baines. He comes in from Maine, had over 700 yards rushing last year, and to be able to do that at a consistent level at the FCS level, I think is something that could be replicated, especially at a level of the Conference USA. A couple of their offensive linemen did get picked out of the portal, but I think they backfilled well. Alex Lopez, Mississippi State, Tyreek Major, USF, Rock Montgomery from Alabama. So I think, once again, similar to other teams that we've talked about, power forward level ability, I think is going to translate well to the Conference USA. And exactly for the main reason that Jake talked about when you bring up this Western Kentucky team, just the continuity they have at the coaching ranks. Tyson Helton has done a great job with the Hilltoppers so far. And I think that's going to carry on. As long as he's there, I think they're going to stay a consistent team and stay near the top of the Conference USA, if not competing for the conference title every year. So exactly for that main reason that Jake pointed out, I'm going to put them at number 1 as well.
Yeah, and of course, I think what we all want to see is we really want to see the red blob that Western Kentucky has as their mascot, to get as much attention as humanly possible. Arguably, one of my favorite mascots in all college football, just a pure design standpoint. I don't know how they came up with that, but it's just a phenomenal mascot. So they deserve some love too, just from that standpoint.
And one of the best helmets with the eyes. That's one of the best helmets in all of college football.
Yeah, their branding's the best. Their helmets, their mascot, just the absolute madness of it, which is why we love college football. That is Western Kentucky. So yeah. I want them to be good. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so one last thing that I definitely want to ask you guys about before we sign off here tonight is that we hinted at the possibility of Louisiana Tech being back like in the CUSA next year. And I think when we did our Sun Belt rankings, I have to look at what we did over on Twitter. But I think the consensus was that we had Louisiana Tech in the top half of the Sun Belt. In the off chance that we have Tech somehow come back and be a CUSA member, let's say they win the Conference USA, wins their lawsuit or something, I'm curious to see where you think La Tech would stack up if they were a member of the CUSA.
They'd be a top 5 for me for sure. It'd be tough. I mean, I think they could win the conference. I mean, that, like I said, they were on the top of the offensive, passive, and defensive efficiency. Their defense was really good in the Conference USA. Yeah, I think they'd be a top 5 team, no doubt. I really like my top 4 though, so it'd be tough to find anyone to put in between those guys. But I think they'd be right in the mix for sure.
Yeah, so I was actually pulling it up, Jake, as you were talking. So Jake and AT, you both had him 6th. Colton had him 7th. I was the lone wolf and had him all the way down to 13. So I don't think they would be that bad in this conference. I'd probably put them in that middle pack, like the 5, 6, 7 range. Yeah, I don't think they would be that bad. I think the Sun Belt is potentially a higher level of competition all around than Conference USA is. So that's why I personally think they would take a dip in that conference. But I think they're in that middle pack if we were to put them in this ranking.
Yeah, and I to be fair, I think the Sun Belt is a better conference overall going into this season than Conference USA. Shoot, we just saw a Sun Belt team representing the college football playoff, and that Sun Belt team actually held its own for the most part against an Oregon team that made it all the way to the semifinals and put Texas Tech through the blender as well. For me, I'm also with you, AT. I think I would have them in around that, from that 4 to 6 range, out of 11 teams. If La Tech was in this conference, I would have them really not as a contender. I think our free contenders, I think, are pretty clear, at least going in spring ball, with it being Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, and then Kennesaw State. I think that's going to be your real main contenders. But then they would be a part of that second tier that I would have, where I would have them as a potential dark horse. Delaware being a potential dark horse if things come together. Missouri State for me would be a dark horse in terms of if things can get right. And Skylar Locklear being in a little bit of a better situation, he takes a step forward, being in that dark horse conversation. And then I would say the same thing for La Tech as well. If certain things go right and balls bounce the right way, we could see La Tech possibly win the conference, but it wouldn't be the first team I think about in terms of who can realistically win the CUSA.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, they're like a middle of the pack Conference USA team, just kind of like they are the Sun Belt as well, to be honest.
For sure.
All right, well, welcome back. Were you taking over my beautiful screen? Well, listen, we made it through the entirety of the CUSA. You know, we gave a little bit of our thoughts, or at least our initial thoughts of every single team. Before we do end up signing off here tonight, you know, really appreciate y'all like spending some time with me, like here on College Football Red Zone. You know, any final thoughts about the CUSA as we get into the like the 2026 campaign?
Let's go Blue Hens. That's all I got.
I was just about to say that we need to get AT some Blue Hens gear. I know they're sponsored by Adidas, so their gear's got to be nice.
I like it. You know, I already told my wife I'm getting me a mini Coochie jersey this year. I got to. I mean, I just got to. So.
Yeah, I will say this about Mini Coochie. I remember watching him in non-conference play. They were taking on UConn, and it was on the one of the College Football Red Zone live streams that we had on the channel during those Saturdays in the fall. And I remember that game being absolutely insane. It was a back and forth affair. Like both teams were scoring in the 40s. So, you know, you want to talk about offensive fireworks being on full display that day. And then Minakuchi, you know, diving into the end zone and getting that game-winning like touchdown to get that statement win against UConn, which for the Huskies, they ended up having an incredible year themselves, you know, almost winning 10 games. That was when, you know, I got put on to Nick Minakuchi and realized that he is that certified man.
And, he is. He's tough as all nails. He's tough as nails, man. He definitely always trying to. Yeah, I love watching him play. Oh my goodness!
I got you, AT. There you go. Unfinished business.
I gotta get it and wear one of either this or a jersey, like literally one of our episodes, no doubt. I wish I'd had it for the Conference USA one, but.
Yeah, if you know, like any of like the Delaware Thankful can send like him some Minakuchi gear. I mean, I'm sure like he would really like appreciate that for sure.
No doubt.
I mean, how do you not like a man with flow? Like, what are we talking about?
You know, as the kids would say, like really a man with aura. I think we can all agree with that. All right, so some housekeeping things like from us before we go ahead and sign off. Just going into like next week, and I'll talk about it a couple more times. So I did end up getting on the phone with Charlie Baker in terms of seeing if we could move the start of the NCAA tournament from Thursday next week. And what happened was that he laughed in my face. He had a good chuckle for about 15 to 30 seconds, and he went ahead and turn the phone off. So I didn't even get an answer back, but I'm assuming the answer is no. I'm gonna keep calling, but it's so normally we do have like a Monday show and a Thursday show because of March Madness happening. What we're gonna do is we're still gonna have that Monday show next Monday, so the day after Selection Sunday, then the day before like the first round game starting, we'll have a show Wednesday night. So that will be like something to keep an eye on. Also, we are going to have like a March Madness group as well, because I think it's a college football show, but we all enjoy March Madness. We enjoy it deep in our bones, so definitely keep an eye on that as well. I'll have a link in a couple of future shows so that you guys have a chance to join. But hey, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for sitting through and enjoying this jam-packed show. You know, love talking about the Conference USA. Really quintessentially what college football is all about, just in terms of how fun it is. I like to watch these teams go at it, especially early in the year when you got some random Tuesday and Wednesdays games. I don't think we even talked about it that much, but yeah, you know, love the fact that we have games on Tuesday and Wednesdays because of this beautiful conference. But hey, with that being said, this is Jake from College Football Red Zone signing off. Hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care and good night.